Look at what we do in Kenpo. You got 3 zones. You got the high zone, the mid zone, the low zone. High zone, top of the head to the top of the shoulders. Mid zone, just below the top of the shoulders to the waist. And then low zone is below the waist. Most people, not all of them, especially if they're midgets, but most people, the lower body is the biggest part of their body. Now, we do know there's a lot of people with a big head, but usually that's just in their head. You know what I'm saying? But you got the head, you got the body, you got the the legs and stuff, right? So your lower body, which is the groin and your legs, is usually longer. Got me? Everybody got that? Okay. So we got all that. Got me? So it's one of those deals where sometimes we strike high, we strike middle, we strike low, like circling the horizon. We go high, we go middle, we go low, right? We're circling the horizon. There's times where, even brushing the storm, we go high, we go middle, we go low. Then you got leaping crane, you go low, you go middle, you go high. And then you got gathering clouds where you go all in the middle. Oh, okay, let's step off and let's go all in the middle, right? So you have this stuff all over Kenpo. Kenpo is a science, it's a system, and you learn all this stuff and you just play with it. So anyway, I think I went probably 12 seconds over my 5-minute deal. Back to you, Mr. Mac. Let's keep rocking, baby. Look at this.
12 Canadian seconds. So it was only 12 Canadian seconds you went over. That's it. All right. Well, it's my turn. So, what do we have to say about destructive kneel? What Mr. Miller was just referencing is how I wanted to start it, is that this is another one of these techniques that's presented as a what if. I have a policy in my studio that you're not allowed to ask what if, because everybody does. You get a white belt, he learns lone kimono or delayed sword, whatever, and then all of a sudden he goes, yeah, but what if? And I go, cut it out. You're not allowed to say what if. All right? Learn the movements, and then you'll learn the what if. And I always tell them, you're allowed to show me your what if, but you're not allowed to ask me what if. And then there's what ifs that are put into the system, like destructive kneel. Destructive kneel is a what if for leap of death. What if the guy comes in, steps in and punches, leap of death, you ride it back here, okay? So you're 1 and 2 before you come in, but then destructive kneel, what if he comes in too tight? Now for this, I'm gonna adjust my camera just like this so that you can see my low line. So now when the guy comes at me, I'm gonna drop it back and I'm gonna come in with this strike. Now, this palm heel strike is something I also want to discuss because I see a lot of people doing it like this. It's like I see people that do snapping twig, and they do snapping twig like this. And my thought is the reason why they're doing that is because you train with your friends, all right? You train with your friends. You don't want to hurt your friends. So you're practicing, you throw the punch, you're shooting the line, whatever. You throw the punch, and you throw the punch like this. So the elbow's down. Because you're not really trying to hit your friend. But if somebody was really trying to hit you, wham, they'd have that elbow flared out if they knew what they were punching. I don't know, maybe you're getting attacked in China in 1920, bam, that's going to happen, all right? But today, pal, you get that elbow up when someone shoots a punch. So if I go here, I'm going to catch where the elbow flexes. It's not going to make much of a difference. So that's why I want to catch it out here. If for some reason the guy's elbow is down, well, that's why we have lone kimono, or twin kimono, raking mace, whatever. That's for the elbow down. When the elbow's out, you take it this way. Now, what if the guy comes in and you're so tight you can't really get any power in that palm heel? All right? What if he's in so tight you can't get to the elbow? You're sticking the knee, as the guys were talking about, in the back of his knee, creating this type of an effect from your opponent, okay? So if this is too tight, you can always just alter the weapon to an elbow. If I take that elbow, I blast him in the kidney or the floating rib in that area, and I catch him here, pal, what's his reaction going to be up top? It's going to be this. Well, that's excellent because I want him headed that way anyway because my knees are going to take him out there. So now you have the guy this way, and then it chambers in for this back knuckle and this claw where you hit him in before you go to the third. Now, that takes me to the end of the technique. Now, everybody knows the extension here. Bam, hammer, and then drop that kick down. But those of us who were fortunate enough to spend time with Joe Palazzo, a lot of us, the Brotherhood a lot of the Brotherhood today is Joe Palazzo guys from the 90s. Dan Donfro, Mark Lawler, myself, Steve Stewart, Brian Saul, Monty. We were all Joe Palazzo guys. Sabora, who's not here today, by the way, because he's feeling ill. So if you all can take a moment and just send him a shout out on Facebook, like, hey, man, miss you today. Hope you're feeling better. He's been sick for a couple of weeks. So hope you're better, buddy. I miss you, my man. But anyway, so the extension that Joe Palazzo used to teach, which I thought was cool, which Donfro was like, bro, I don't know if anybody's done this before. Yeah, I have. I used to demo it. So 1, 2, 3, and then what he did, which I thought was cool, because once again, what if you're jammed up? What if you're in tight? Okay, I can go behind the guy like circling destruction, but what if environmentally that's not going to work? Sorry, my dogs are, it's like Cheryl's house right here. My dogs are barking. What if environmentally that doesn't work? Well, what Palazzo had you do is you drop back and you did a check down and a knife hand to the throat. So what you did is you created space, and then from here you hit the knife hand or a palm heel to the jaw, spin around, blast them in the side, double check, and then pop that spinning rear kick up there, and that was it. So it was 1, 2, 3, drop it down, spin, check, fire off that rear kick, and you're done. All right, so that's my time on destructive kneel. Thank you very much. Let's just do this, and we're going to do this, and we'll take a look, see who's next. Oh, my man from Fort Lauderdale. He's the guy that I will tell you has the most destructive kneel out of all of us.
Self-destructive.
Mr. Monty Noir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome to our guests, Mr. Dye, Mr. Bleecker. It's an honor for you to be with us today. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to all our frontline workers. Some of them are already brothers and sisters in the Brotherhood, actually. Thank you for doing all the things that you do, saving lives. Now, with the technique, on a beautiful sunny day like Florida, you would simply just step back and do the technique, and execute it, okay? But sometimes it doesn't work that way. But let's take it step by step. So let's say the guy, it's not a punch. Let's say it's a push, okay? Because a punch will be very difficult for you just to time it and do the technique. So let's say if it's a push and you hyperextend, and then you got a 2 tracking, there's a tracking on the top and tracking on the bottom. So you're tracking on the top and on the bottom, and then from there, you're gonna need to drop, okay? Drop right from in here all the way to back to check his height, okay? And then from there into the 2 punches, one to the kidney and the second one to the ribs. From there, you check and punch the face, which that's what I do. I do an insert there, hook, and then from there, you do a reverse action, which is you stomp with your right to accelerate the impact of your knee right into the kidney. And from there, you just drop your gravitational marriage as you drop him down. He bounces on the ground. No sooner he bounces, he's going to take the kick. All right. But what happens if that's not the case? What happens if you're in the middle of the technique, that you see the hit coming in and you step out, okay? Which you can parry and then hyperextend. So you're doing the reverse. Instead of this, what you're doing is this. You're doing the reverse of this, okay? So by you parrying, and there's the goes, okay? And then from there, you are too close to him. There's your hyperextension, and you go right into the technique from there, and then you check down, and you do the punch, hook, and drop him down, okay? So 2 ways, okay? So there's you parry or you parry, pop, or punch or elbow, okay? From there, you go into the face, drop. This is very important because this like stifles him down. This checks his high down, okay, to create the punch. There's the other punch that I insert to the jaw, check the shoulder, hook the neck, and which I hook. I always do this in here, okay, right into the throat, because I like to control the jugular right here, this one. And once you control it, you control the whole entire body, okay? And then you do the knee strike and guide him down. And before this foot lands, that's what I hurt my foot. I know. You hammer right on his sternum. It increases the impact of his body onto the ground, and he bounced right into your kick. Notice I don't have my arms. At no time I do this. At no time I do this. Actually, I see some of the Tai Chi people, they go like this, and I say, well, watch. If you reduce the circle, let me put my hand in. So that's what you're doing exactly. So if you're doing Tai Chi, that's what you're doing, okay? But I don't extend the arms too far because I don't want to weaken my limbs, all right? So there's so much to cover for this technique. The impact on the knees, I found that the most effective is you hit a little bit, not behind the knee, right in the tendon, okay? So as you're stepping this way to get out of the impact, and you hit, the knee hits right on the tendon. If you hit yourself, you will see what I'm talking about. It's very, very powerful, okay? And then you hit with the second knee and drop them down and go in. So I tried to cover a few things for you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's a great honor, and salute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Newar. Is anybody else getting hungry watching Monty? I don't know. There was some action hanging out in the background. I see bananas and somebody cooking, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Always interesting, Monty. Thank you very much, Mr. Newar. All right,
Thank
so
you.
check this out. This is pretty cool. So Angelo, you guys know Angelo. He's always in the undisclosed location. Well, apparently it's not that undisclosed because he has a packed house. He has a packed house. So in addition to Angelo and AJ, we always have those guys. I'm going to step back and turn it over because Mr. Bleecker and Mr. Dye are both with him. So the next 15 minutes, you're going to have 3 different presenters. Of those presenters, we have Tom Bleecker, who is an awesome, awesome guy. Everybody in the Brotherhood, we love him. He's great. He's a member, okay? The guy's been around in Kenpo forever, okay? He's an author. You have The Journey. He wrote it. You have The Journey 2, The Journey 3. He wrote it. His current book is Journeying Beyond the Mountaintop. It's a autobiography co-written by Mr. Miller. He has some amazing stories, not just Kenpo stories, but personal stories. He used to hang out with that guy. I can't remember his name. He was Kato on the Green Hornet, you know, and Mary Poppins. All right, he's got some awesome stories. And then the other thing that's cool about the roundtable is I have an opportunity. Like a couple months ago, I got to meet Mr. Chuck Sullivan. Last month, I got to meet Mr. John Sepulveda. These guys I've never met before. Now, Paul Dye, I have witnessed you do a demo once a long, long time ago at a Jeff Speakman camp in Maryland, 1996-ish. But this is a guy whose reputation is he is one of the most dynamic technicians. Okay, I'm not saying dynamic performer. I'm saying dynamic technicians, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to get my popcorn, sit back, relax, and enjoy this with the rest of y'all. But first, my man, Mr. Angelo.
Hey guys, what's happening? We're from our undisclosed location. We're going to be doing destructive kneel. This is one of my favorite techniques simply because I had the privilege of running the Friday Night Line. And this is a technique in Form 4. So we did this 100 million different ways. So for destructive kneel, let me give you my version, and then I'm going to turn it over and we're going to give you a little saying is, I used to run this in Friday Night Line, so we used to do a lot of variations of it. Okay, as the attack comes in, I like to go backwards because I'm going to run away from these big old guys that are chasing me. And as I do that, I'm going to come up and I'm going to catch from this position here. I like to use the wrist grab and the pull to pull this guy off balance. And I'm going to pull him down. But the technique is called destructive kneel. So this is where, if we have the techniques what we're doing, where we really jam that front foot in, okay? So as it comes in from here, I'm going to jam that front foot, and I'm going to lock that in there, and I'm going to pull his weight over this. From here, I'm going to hit him with another knee check so I have full control of this. Now for the ending, what I like to do is make sure that you're hitting and you're doing. We're going to rip, we're going to shoot here. I grab, I'm going to break the coccyx bone. I'm going to hit here. I don't want to go to the back because I can't reach the back because I'm too short. So I'm going to pull him in this position here, coming through. I'm going to heel palm him on the chest. Rather than going with a looping kick, I'm going to pull this leg. Are you ready? Pull the leg and then jam back. Okay, one more time. All right. Yeah. He comes in. I go 1, 2. Hit that leg here. I'm going to shoot and hit this. Rip. I'm going to pop here. Grab. Rake the tailbone from here. Coming in. Heel palm the chest. Coming down. Hooking the back foot. Sweeping it out. There's an option to destroy the hip. Boom. Game over. Okay, so that's what I like to do with that specific technique. Another
feel good at all.
It twists you up. It works on your proprioceptors of your body. Another thing that I love to do is what Yoshiruya did in the technique line. He always bypassed all of this and the grab and everything else. So what Yosh used to do and taught us was 1, 2. Very simple. You come in, you just watch it. 1. And you can see the same result is there. The back knuckle won't go to the body, it'll go to the arm. But then you can do whatever you want and sweep from that point on. Okay, so that's kind of my perspectives on this. Now I'm going to turn it over to AJ, because now the attack's going to change. I'm going to do a step with the other foot. Take it.
So it gets more of a drag-up boxing style than a step through. So as that comes in, we're keeping it the same, pulling him over that front leg. There's no kneel here for me anymore, because there's no front leg there. I have this leg that's kind of far away. So I'm going to take this base leg out from the back. I'm going to step forward. I'm going to drive that knee up as I turn and buckle that leg. Now, as he comes down, I'm going to continue with my destructive kneel motion, and I'm going to catch to the face here. As I do my rip, I'm going to rip, and I'm going to step and elbow across the face, uppercut, hook, overhead. Okay, so one more time. We have 1, there's no kneel. Take the leg out, smack, hit, pop, pop. And we're out. So just addressing that other leg since that front kneel isn't there. Still trying to keep that same rhythm. One more time.
Hit, pop. And that doesn't feel good either. You're twisted up, you lost your leg, and so forth. Another option that we used to do, let me throw this back in there since we've got a couple seconds left, is when you're going up, if you shoot this up from this position, you're going to get your opponent on your toes. You're going to pull him, and then you go on a downward angle with your shots. When you hit, you're going to go up. This is going to go to the thigh. That's going to go into the punch there, and then you can continue with whatever you'd like to do. Those are the options that we have. Okay? How are we on time?
1 minute.
Huh?
Since AJ went, we have 1 minute left.
Okay, so any other, so the destructive kneel is a good technique. We love this technique. I'm going to go ahead and pass on the bar now to Mr. Bleecker, just arrived.
Take that off.
Okay, so are you okay, Mr. Bleecker?
No.
No, he's panicking. He just arrived.
No.
He's tying his belt as we speak. He's running. He's worked out. He's tired, but he's here.
All right. Well, I've been driving for an hour and a half trying to find this place. I've been to Think Minor Park. I've been to Gladstone Park. I've been all over the place. I'm almost out of gas. I came in on fumes, and I'm fuming. No, not really. But I just couldn't find it. I apologize because now I'm kind of at the risk of I'm at the risk of repeating everything.
No.
What do I have? 5 minutes? Is that it?
Just go. Yes, sir. We'll keep a time on you.
All right. Let me get kneel of destruction. As you know, this is a technique that's required for second round. but most of us learned this for our brown belt. We needed to know long form. And so we knew the technique or the opening and part of it before we actually got into it later on. I learned it back in late 60s, mid 60s when I learned 4, and I don't think it was part of the curriculum then. So I'm a real stickler and strong believer in escape techniques. I really am. I think they work. I think they're fantastic. I don't feel exactly that way about the punch techniques. I think they take an awful lot of adjustments. One of the reasons is that the escape techniques work really well. If somebody puts something on you, if he comes up and grabs me like this, there aren't a whole lot of variations to this. This is it. If he puts a headlock on me, it's okay. Same thing. If he grabs me, whatever it is he's doing, if he's going to choke me, same thing. These are pretty standard, but not with the punch techniques. They're pretty locked down. There's so much variation in here. There are so many areas you can go wrong, or at least you can get yourself in trouble. The reason why that is that the model for this is this. Shotokan. Okay? If you look at early pictures of Mr. Parker, you'll see him in this stance. Foot turned out, hand down, hand chambered, right hand on the hip. And they come in, when they come in and punches, like this. This is it. This is the model, this one here. Straight up and down like this. Well, we move from that. That's how we learn these techniques, from this. And they call that the ideal phase, when we start moving it. Although, in my view, that's not ideal. The reason why Mr. Parker started this way, because that's his foundation. When he came here to the United States, is when he started picking up circular motion. But for the same reason, he had to deal with the Japanese. To be accepted, he had to get by the gold standard, which at that time was Shotokan. So he came up with all kinds of techniques from this. That's what our punch techniques are coming from, is this, because that was the Shotokan. That's what they did. So this is when you learn kneel of destruction, you're learning it off of this. And that's, for me, is the first problem. Now, I'm probably going to repeat some stuff here. So just look at me and say, like that, okay? The first thing that comes up in this technique is the lineup. The manual tells us to step to 11 o'clock. I've heard people say you can also go back to 6 o'clock, but that's a whole different foot alignment, isn't it? This one, you're on the center. This one, you're going off and you're opening up. So the first thing that comes up is you go forward, you go back. I prefer to go back. Angelo, do you prefer to go back?
I go back, sir.
You go back.
Yes,
Even though
sir.
the manual says go forward.
I'm wrong, sir.
No, you're right. I prefer to go back too.
I go back all the time on that front.
And here's why. There's two good reasons. I hope I'm not repeating this stuff. I know you guys have this covered already.
Doesn't matter.
In order to hit this kneel, and in order to hit this grab, I'm kind of moving out of the sun. Yeah. That's why I was moving forward. I'm trying to get out of the sun.
Okay. We need to see you.
You put me in the sun. Okay. In order to hit this kneel, and in order to hit this grab and this break, okay, you've got to make sure that this foot is going to hit the knee. Okay? If this guy coming in with this punch, or this, now I understand this is a straight punch, step through, or it's an overhead. I don't know what this, if you're going to cut this overhead down, you got to cut this arc really close, or you're going to be in trouble. So, in order to get off this side, he's got to put his leg right there every time he steps in with that punch. And I don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't feel comfortable, as this punch is coming at 100 miles an hour, I got to figure out where that knee's going to land. And I'm going to put myself in harm's way while I'm doing it. So I prefer to go back. Second point is, do you do this all in one move? Or do you do this in two? One, and then you come in two. You do one, Langelo?
I do two, sir.
Oh, you're with me again. And why is that? Why do I do that? Because it's just too much. It's too much to do 1, 2, 3 all at once. You can't do it. I can't do it. Maybe there are people who can. I can't do it. I don't feel comfortable. The second thing is, is when this punch comes in, okay, and he's here, I have to make sure that this grab is on. Because if this grab is not on, and this grab has to come on before this strikes, it's like leap of death when I go back. If this is on and I can strike this, then that's fine. But if I miss this, then what happens to the arm when I hit? I put it out in left field, right? And I don't want to be out in left field. Why? Because I liked it. Now, why do I like this arrangement? Why do I like this arrangement? If I miss this kneel, if I go in now and I kneel and I hit and I strike, if I miss this, I want to hang on to this. I don't want to give this up.
You're going to get it.
Oh, what do we move up?
Sorry, guys. We just got sprinkled on. Let's go under the cement right there.
You know exactly what happened. You probably called ahead.
Right there, guys. Sorry.
Okay. Let me cover this one part here. I don't want to give this up. Okay? So if this looks bad and this strike looks bad, I'm assuming you guys have already covered the back end of this. I don't want to give this up. Now, why is that? Here's a rule you can never want to forget. If you could ever trade your backhand for his front hand, take it. Take it. Here's one way you can try that out. This is your stance, right? Here's your fighting stance. Okay? Now you fight. Put your backhand on. Now, like this, you feel pretty comfortable, right? Put your backhand behind your waist. Okay? You feel pretty comfortable? Switch them. Feel comfortable? You feel worse than the front? I feel better. You feel better this way? Oh, you're different. Most people, this is the front line of defense because it's close to everything. It's close to the knee, the head, it's closer to the block. It's your front line of defense. Most people, if you tell them this to go like this, they'll say, "Oh no." And here's one reason: you put that behind your back. No, switch. Now, the more I move this way, you've got a whole blind side. So whenever I got this here, this one, I don't want to get rid of this if I don't have to. So even with leap, you're doing this. If you still have it or you lose it, you can still come back with this and leap. That's there. I'm sure somebody covered it. The other thing I want to cover is this. Real quick. We have a lopsided American Kenpo in regards to our techniques, our punch techniques. How many techniques do we have for a right-hand punch? No? A lot. There are 4 ways to block a punch. I can go outside of the right. I can go inside of the right. I can go outside of the left. I can go inside of the left. How many do we have on the outside of a right? Anybody? 36. 36. How many do we have on the inside of the right? Angelo? Huh? 1. 1. The 5 count. The 5 swords. How many do we have on the inside of the left? 1. How many do we have on the outside of the left? 5. Well, that means you got 36 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 5 over here. So you better learn to be able to move from this to the inside, and you have to learn the inside as well. You have to be able to convert when you're here to be able to get on the inside off of the leap. You have to be able to move from zone to zone. Okay? All right, thank you. I hope I hope everyone's going, Michael Miller covered this. Get me a cup of coffee, honey, will you?
That's good.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late.
No problem. All right, guys, I get to be Dan Mack for 5 seconds. This is really cool. I'm going to MC first time in my life with the Brotherhood. Our next presenter is none other than the legendary Paul Dye, Master of Self-Defense. He's been with me all my career. I've supported him. He's one of my favorite men in the whole world, Mr. Paul Dye.
Thank you, sir. Hello to everyone. I've listened to everybody's classes. It's great stuff. It's great seeing everybody, even though it's a kind of a funky environment. But someday we'll all hook it, we'll get it, and we'll do the working out that we all love to do. Everybody covered really good things on destructive kneel. To me, a pretty important technique in the system, even though it's probably not all our favorite go-to type techniques. I do kind of want to show you one other technique I have in my own curriculum, in our Brown curriculum, but just one little take on destructive kneel that I point out in the garage is when you work with your students, don't be afraid to have the technique come from an oblique angle, because we always tell the students that, the attack's going to come from 12, or make sure you block with your lead hand. Keep your lead hand between your nose and the opponent, all these little pearls of wisdom. And of course, destructive kneel kind of makes it look like, it's a backhand defending technique, which they might question. All you have to do is change them basically between 5 and 30 degrees. If you change the opponent 30 degrees and we take him from the 12 to the 1 o'clock, if he was assaulting me, this is actually now my lead hand. So the technique kind of makes a little bit more sense than just coming towards 12. So, at home, we kind of take the technique from a little bit of an oblique attack. Also, you can take it, take the material and do other things. I have a student that does some bodyguard for pretty influential people. They're multi-billionaires. And of course, if he's bodyguarding them, he doesn't want to hit them, then they get sued. So, of course, one of his go-tos is destructive kneel. Okay? So, come over here and push. So, like an example, if he's walking a red carpet and somebody wants an autograph that's not really supposed to be there, if the hand reaches in, he'll just kind of do a destructive kneel type of thing and just kind of send them on their way. Hey, we'll get you an autograph in a minute. So, a lot of things you can do with it outside the box. You can oblique it, and the students have a blast. But everybody covered some really good points. What I'm going to do is I want to do a technique that we have in our Brown curriculum. Then what I'm going to do is explain why we have that curriculum, where it came from, how it morphed into being, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So this technique we call following horizon, and the reason it's important to me is following horizon was actually the name of what you guys have as Flight to Freedom. So when the techniques got changed and the name got changed, I actually like following horizon. So when I created this technique, I just put in the old name. So for my heart, it does me some good because it attaches to the old days. We'll just kind of do half of it. Once we do half of it, then I'll just kind of explain what the curriculum is and how it came to be. So David's right punch. It's self-explanatory. All you guys are brilliant guys. Just take a look. So you got parry, hit, break, hit. Okay. So pretty self-explanatory stuff. The following the horizon in this case is the punch. So I'm using it as a horizon line. You actually follow it twice. So you have the follow in and then the follow back out. Then you have the heavy groin shot. But like all you guys know, which is important to relate to your students as you teach, is I'm really not sure anybody can really create anything anymore. I think it's all been done, but you'll see destructive kneel in it. Right here. Right. And then we just go up with, okay? And then we take it on the ground, do all kinds of nonsense stuff, beating people up. But here's what I think is important. For all the professional guys that teach, and you've taught for years, this actually came from an experience. I was on a testing board. It might actually been at Klaus's place way back in the day in Denmark. And we're watching the kids perform. They're all doing real good, bell testing, blah, blah. And it came time to personal forms. And they're sweating, they're working hard. And I asked the guy next to me, I said, hey, man, I said, can you do your form you did for black? He goes, I don't even remember the day I made black. And I asked the guy on my right, I said, hey, can you stand up and do the form you did for black? He goes, no, I can't. And it hit me pretty hard. It's like, I had done that for years. Mr. Thompson had to do a form for his black. But the reality is it kind of wasted their time because it's a lost thing. So what I did is change. What Mr. Collado, Mr. Thompson know, I do the original 32 technique, the old program. So you're actually done with curriculum at Greenbelt with Falling Falcon, right? And then, of course, you learn the techniques in the forms, right? So what we started to do is have the student create a technique for their black belt. After the hoopla, they get the belt. As the weeks kind of calm down, all of us sit, we look at the technique, we kind of analyze the technique. If it looks okay, it goes on the brown belt list. And of course, that student can put a name to it, right? So the first time we had a student that created a technique that got to teach his own technique to our new students, cried his eyes out. And to me, it's a very important thing because that student then understands he can give back the curriculum. It's always going to be in my garage. It's never going to go away. And we're supposed to try and convince students it's a give back. So in this case, it's a give back that never goes away. So I'll give you an example of how it goes. I was with John Ward. I think we're in Ireland someplace. And I kind of wrapped up my class and we say, hey, has anybody got any questions? One guy raised his hand. He goes, yeah. He says, I hear there's a technique called Mrs. Dye's technique. It's like, what the heck? We're like 10,000 miles from Covina, and this guy actually heard about a technique she created in my garage. So to me, it's those kind of rewards that are a very important thing. So, you know, all the guys that teach, it's just kind of a little bug I can put in your ear, a little incentive. It's definitely a cool incentive for the students, especially the kids that have been around for years with you, to give back to your school. Let them create, let them name it, let them teach it. And I think it's just a really good way to give back. So I'll just kind of do this little technique one more time. It's just a copy. You can kind of play with it. If you have any further questions on the technique, you can call me, text me, email, whatever you want to do, because there is more to it. And I should, kind of like what Dan, Dan points out, the guys that help out. This fellow that's with me took his first lesson with me in 1973. So a lot of us kind of forget what karate is really supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to be. I love this guy. He loves me. My daughter's sitting right over here. If something happened to her, he would be there right now and vice versa. So it's supposed to be like a family thing. And this is family to me. Of course, he got to test in front of Mr. Parker. He actually got to ask Mr. Parker what he thought of his test, which of course the new students will never have that opportunity. So, Dave, I appreciate everything in life and getting the help me out, eat by me and all that stuff. So, right. Harry, hit, break, hit, stand them up, lift them up, scratch, hit, chop them in. Love you guys. I love Kenpo. I love Angelo. All the guys that taught today, very professional, right on point. Spent a lot of time with Mr. Parker, mostly at the Pasadena school. I am convinced that he would be tremendously happy with everything that all you guys have done. Not only what the presenters did today, but kind of what you're doing as a group, trying to pull things together, trying to kind of work as a unit, trying to share ideas. I think he'd be pretty happy. I was very fortunate to come here today. I take all those very serious. It's like a compliment. I appreciate it. Appreciate Angelo reaching out. And like all of us, we just like doing what we do and we like sharing ideas. So hopefully someday we'll meet somewhere and we'll get it on. Thank you very much.
All right, Dan, back to you. Hello.
How cool was that? That was awesome. That was spectacular. It was so cool. That was so cool. Shout out to Dave Thompson. Good to see you, my man. Excellent. Tom Bleecker, you didn't really repeat yourself. What you did is you took points that we had brought up and then you added to it. It was spectacular. I absolutely loved it. Angelo, you're pretty good as a host, but this job is mine. All right. So that brings us to the end. In the end, we always do the same thing, which is pass the mic. This is where every presenter gets 30 seconds. Now, you may figure out that we're not good at telling time, but hang in, it's worth it. So if all the presenters could please unmute their mics. We'll go first to my man, Mr. Brian. Why can I not replace you here?
She's like, so it was awesome. That was awesome.
Let's try this again. Mr. Brian, there it is. Saul.
Yeah, it was funny. He videotaped it. I got some. Oh, that was.
I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. Wow.
Mr. Bleecker.
What a fantastic day. Absolutely. Mr. Dye, Mr. Bleecker, awesome. Awesome. So from this day forth, this technique is...
Angelo, you have to mute yourself if you're talking during the show, period.
Hey, Siri, can you tell Dan Meck to mute himself if he's...
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry. Oh, what I'm so... guilty. Sorry.
Well, as I was saying, the consensus is we're stepping back. I love it. Some fantastic... I'm still laughing. What a fantastic day. Thank you to all the instructors. Yeah, again, Mr. Dye, Mr. Bleecker, that was fantastic. I learned a lot, and I will pass it back to you, my man.
Wait, I have to unmute myself. Mr. Dan Dufro!
All right, once again, honored to be with the presenters, Mr. Bleecker, Mr. Paul Dye. And yes, Brian Saul, stepping back is the way I always step back. But I saw you step forward. I said, all right, I have to step forward. So I'm very glad everybody's stepping back. And I want to give a shout out to my Yukis, especially Mr. Brightman, who just recently had a tattoo done there on that arm. So, he's a warrior, this guy. But once again, honored. Can't wait to see everybody again. Back to you, Dan.
All right. Your sound just went out there.
Hello.
Lorenzo.
Hello, everybody. Mr. Dye and Mr. Bleecker, it's an honor to be part of this session with you. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your ideas. And I take note not only about I take note from Angelo, from Dan, from Mark, from Miller, from Brian. So thank you so much. It's an honor to be part of the parties. It's a pleasure to be part of all of these people. Okay. So we continue and we are ready for the next session, man. Ciao.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo. Throwing it over to Mark Lawler.
What a great day, everybody, as usual. And really enjoyed listening to you, Mr. Bleecker, Mr. Dye. That was really cool. Love to hear your perspective on everything. I think it's something we all need to hear. Some great points on, our origin and that type of thing. And I love the flexibility of this, the way people just approach the technique and just, pick it apart and look at the possibilities. So that's all I got. Look forward to next time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lawler. Mr. Steve Stewart.
Hey, this is always great. I love it. Mr. Bleecker, Mr. Dye, outstanding. I took notes from you guys. I took notes from Mark and Brian and Dan. Lorenzo, I'm not sure if I took notes from you. Anyway, it's great to be here with all of you. I learned from every one of you and Lorenzo as well. So you guys are amazing. Even during this lockdown.
I love you, my brother. I love you. I love you.
Angelo and Dan and Brian and Lorenzo. So back to you guys. Be safe. Love you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Miller. Oh, Mr. Michael Miller.
Oh, hey guys. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm holding a book called Journeying Beyond the Mountaintop. I was lucky enough to co-author this bad Larry with Tom Bleecker. It's about his life, so if you don't mind, I'm going to read it to you real quick. It's only 400 and some pages, but anyway, just kidding, I wouldn't read it to you. But anyway, good book, Journeying Beyond the Mountaintop, Tom Bleecker's life. Check it out on Amazon. If you'd like an inscribed copy, personalized copy, autographed by the man himself, Mr. Tom Bleecker, as you guys saw today, how awesome he is. Get a hold of him. It's actually, I'm looking at it now, it's actually 355 pages, but, you know, it'll take you a while. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Bleecker. Thank you, Mr. Dye. You guys were awesome. We appreciate you guys. And let's keep rocking, and we'll see everybody next month. Rock on. Back to you, Dan.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Miller. So I'm the guy that was talking into Siri. So you guys got to see a little background of, you know, in between when people are presenting and my mic's off and my camera's off, I'm usually texting people. People are texting me saying, hey, what about this? Hey, what about that? Hey, what if I go with my right hand? Hey, you forgot to hit record. We'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one. But anyway, the bottom line is that it's all awesome. It's all awesome. Yesterday around, I don't know, about 5 o'clock my time, all of a sudden I started to get the jitters. I was like, tomorrow's the Roundtable. This is so great. This is so cool. I mean, how neat is it that, you know, we're looking over in California and you have, you know, Tom Bleecker presenting, Angelo and Paul Dye in the background, Angelo presenting, you know, Dave Thompson and AJ, all these California guys kicking butt, complaining about sun and sprinklers.
Huh? I'm just kidding. He's in Covina. He's about a mile and a half from the freeway.
Snow right here. That's what I'm looking at. Snow. And we get 6 more inches tomorrow. So I love it, guys. This is spectacular. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mr. Bleecker. Thank you, Mr. Dye. And now I'm going to throw it over to Monte.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. It's a great honor. And like I always say, it's the Kenpo Great Mind Alliance, a bunch of practitioners sharing knowledge and learning from each other. It's a great honor to see Mr. Dye and Mr. Bleecker today. Amazing. You can see the depth behind the knowledge there. I appreciate it. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Monty. All right, out to the undisclosed location for a few presenters. All right, rock and roll, Angelo.
Hey guys, let me go first. First of all, what I want to say is thank you to the Brotherhood for all the support that you've given us. And I want to give a special thank you to these gentlemen that are with me, because in my career over the last 40 years, I've had some very, very big events that have happened in my life that I'll never forget. And every one of those, these two gentlemen were present.
About 5 minutes. They're like 3 minutes. 3 minutes. They're saying goodbye.
So I just want to thank you two for being a part of my life and my career, Mr. Bleecker, and everything else. And that's all I got to say is I want to thank these gentlemen. Thank all you guys for your support. And we're good to go. I'm going to pass the mic over to Mr. AJ. Say goodbye.
All right, guys. Awesome stuff today. You got to hang out with some killers today.
Some killers, all right.
Got some info, so.
Mr. Bleecker.
Once again, I apologize for being late. I mean, trust me on this. I tried. I also want to thank you for being a guest here today. It's a real honor to be part of this brotherhood, and I encourage everybody in Kenpo to join this brotherhood, the International Brotherhood. I know Chuck Sullivan is now on board. Dave Hebler is now on board. I know AC Rainey is on board, and more of the old timers are coming in, and the elders and seniors are coming in. And I encourage young people also to come in, because this is the future of Kenpo. This is a major leg of the future of Kenpo. So I encourage everybody. And my wife tried to sew on the Brotherhood patch, but it's so thick that she couldn't get the needle through. I said, I'll have to take it to the site. They'll do it. Anyway, thank you again.
Mr. Dye.
So thank you very much for the invitation. Thanks, Angelo, for reaching out to me. And like I said, one of these days, We'll probably have to fly to the East Coast and leave this sunshine. But we'll find you. We're going to work out. And we'll catch Stewart up in Canada one of these days. Steve, you moved really good. Awesome school. And Frank loved you to death. So that's it.
Mr. Thompson, please say something.
I would just say thank you for allowing me to join in on this. More importantly, I'd like to thank Mr. Dye for allowing me to get hit by him. I've been doing that for 40 odd years, and it's fun every time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, Kenpo in California, guys. We love you.
All right, so I have to say this, Mr. Tom Bleecker, you're the consummate professional. You may have been late for Angelo, but you were right on, literally right on time for your presentation. And it would have been worth the wait. So, scores out. We're done for the day. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. We have a couple guesses as to who our guests are going to be next month. I've been pushing for one guy in particular. Let's see if we can get him on and be pretty cool. Thank you very much. Salute.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.